Well, that's why I thought the events like
Okay, 6:30, bright and early. How's everybody this morning? Good. Ready for the day? Yeah, Brian? Good. This week's code of conduct is maintain cleanliness and conditions of vehicles and equipment. It's a good reminder. We got the vac downstairs. We got the power washer. Mud season's not too far. More of the rainy season's coming up. About September, October, November. So try to maintain those cleanliness. Condition right now, it's a lot of dust. So spray off those vehicles. Keep them clean. Keep them in good condition. So another 7 days without a recordable. Excellent job this past week. We've had a couple close encounters, and we're going to talk about a little bit of what happened last week in the state of Vermont. And it's kind of working safe through work zones. I don't know if everyone's getting the push notifications I'm sending out, but we had another Vermonter die inside a work zone down in Putney, Vermont. It was a flagging or a paving company where an individual got backed over by a loader a skid steer working inside the work zone. So it's a pretty tragic environment. What's that? When? Last Monday. Yeah. Something that could easily happen to us in our company. How many skid steers do we have? How many road jobs we have going on? So I really want to try to raise that awareness about blind spots, positioning yourself your own tolerance zone. We're going to talk about a little bit about proper setup with our work zones, but then also talk about really making sure that we're raising our tolerance while working in tight quarters, because that's a lot of our work these days. Our job sites are getting smaller and smaller. Our work zones are getting tighter and tighter because of the restrictions that we have to operate. So work zones, again, hopefully this is a quick refresher. It's been a little bit since we talked about them, but again, we're always establishing our traffic control plan through our work zone. It all depends about our workspace. This is where we're actually performing the work. This is the most important part whenever you're building out your project. We're doing a lot of road work in the next couple of weeks. We have a lot of big paving jobs, two-way, Sunny Hollow. The pavers this is their life, reclaiming paving on the roads. So it's very, very important that we always establish what are our limits of operation, what is our work zone. And we always want to add a little bit of a buffer space. That buffer space is that whole oh shit type of mentality of cars being able to getting out of the way of the accidents, or maybe being able to stockpile a little bit of material, but into that buffer space to try to get a little bit more than we need. Then we have our two transition areas, which is really just a downstream taper and moving our cars around. And then very important that we always maintain our advanced warning signs. That's letting the traveling public know that we are taking up either a shoulder, a lane, or we're just there, just so hopefully they can slow down in our work zone. Right now in the state of Vermont, more Vermonters are getting hit by cars than our own equipment. But again, those are the two main hazards when we're dealing with work zones, is being looked by those struck by hazards. So it's very important that we always try to make sure we always barricade ourselves with cones, barrels, Jersey barriers, whatever it may be, and we're always trying to work inside our workspace, so then it's a nice smooth operation. So our recommending minimum advanced warning sign spacing. This is for our advanced warning signs. If urban low speed, that's kind of more like Burlington and your cities, 25, 30 miles per hour, you could say about 100 feet. Once we get into more high speed, once you get in that 35 to 40 mile per hour zone, we're looking at about 350. Rurals, when we're in the kind of the country roads, we got about 50 miles per hour. We should be about 500 feet each sign spacing. And then the freeways and the expressways, those are a lot further distance because your speed's about 65 miles per hour there. And you're talking 1,000, 1,500, and 2640 in between signs. So going back to that accident that happened last week, struck by hazards are very common in roadway work because of double hazards. You got our own vehicles, our own heavy equipment, and you got the traveling public through them. So that's why we always got to raise our tolerance zone. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Is our tolerance zone, each individual, we have our own. What you feel is your safe distance away from something, or what you feel comfortable. Someone that's very new to the company has a very expanded tolerance zone because, or, I take that back because they might not know some of the hazards. So someone that is super cautious like myself that's in safety, I go to a job site, I'm super cautious because it's just my nature, who I am. Or someone that is maybe a little bit more aggressive about, that can't happen to me type of mentality might stand extremely close to something that might be very dangerous. So that's kind of what I mean by your tolerance zone, your safety tolerance. So you always want to remember that in the roadways, you want to stay within our lanes of traffic that we've taken. So always standing inside the cones, inside the barrels. If you ever find yourself outside, you're going to be in a very dangerous situation. So hazards, vehicles traveling through the zone, having a plan, staying inside the workplace, remembering that safety tolerance, and then also look out for your fellow coworkers. If you see someone standing and you got a skid steer, you got a lot, or a roller, keep backing up, and it's like, wow, man, that guy does not need to be there. Hey, let's move that person to a safe place where they're away from those potential hazards. And then our last line of defense is that PPE. It's like wearing the high-vis clothing so you can be seen out there on the roadways. And if we have to add some lighting, as we're getting changing of the season now, where it's getting a little darker earlier, a little things like that. So throw up a lighting plan. And then hazards, construction equipment working inside our work zone, keep a safe distance away from blind spots. Remember, a lot of our heavy equipment, there's a lot of blind spots. So you always want to have eye contact with the operators all times. And you want your operators to make sure that you have contact with your field personnel, your fellow coworkers all the time. And if you find a situation where you can't see somebody, stop and address the situation. Hey, I need to be able to see you. If I can't see you, there's a chance that I'm going to back over you. All right, so we got to have those conversations on that morning tailboard. So hopefully what happened last Monday won't happen again. Remove any unnecessary personnel from the site. That's kind of what happened in this situation. They had someone there that didn't really need to be there, that didn't really understand the working of construction. It was his fourth day on the job. Fourth day on the job, this person got killed. So it talks about that safety tolerance zone and that personal protective equipment. All right, so we have to really raise that awareness. We've got to work together. There's been a high tick in the state of Vermont of some very serious accidents throughout the whole industry when it comes from general industry to construction. And the last thing that we want is anything serious happen to any one of you guys here. And that's why we have these safety meetings each day, to throw a little bit of safety at you, to hopefully slow it down, expand that tolerance zone. Let's think about those hazards that are out there, because they're out there and we're seeing Vermonters die because of it. So I think it's an important topic, and I hope this week, as we're getting out there to start to do a lot of road work, that we take the time, set up the job properly, and then also really start looking out for each other. And remember, everything that we work with is extremely hazardous, dangerous. Every piece of equipment is very heavy, and the last thing we want to do is back over anybody or hit anybody or have any vehicles enter our work zone and get hit that way either. So let's take the time. Let's do it safe. Let's plan ahead. Let's communicate. If any questions, let's raise those questions. Let's get those answered so we can have a safe day each and every day out there. Everybody go home safe and sound. Is there any questions? So announcements, PT360 will be here. We are full. So if anyone is interested, we can try to maybe get you scheduled over there at their availability time slots. Time reporting, cruising equipment should have their time submitted 9 a.m. I think that's same as last week. I think we did a pretty good job, Ben, last week. Things are going well. So again, business as usual. So the project this week, we're going to talk about the V-Trans Springfield. I think I saw Mark Bonin here. Mark's here. So Mark was on there. Daryl, paving crew were down there last week. So ECI is contracted with V-Trans for intersection of improvements at US 5 and Route 11, including the installation of new traffic signals, associated paving markings, signage. Eastbound lane of Vermont Route 11 will also have the shoulder widened in order to provide a dedicated left turn lane at the Holiday Inn Express across US 5. So I think that's kind of the turn lane there that we built. Is that correct, Mark? Yeah, so we expanded the road depth reconstruction, and looks like we are putting, is that top? putting top on that picture there. So you get nice cones, channeling devices, everybody wearing high vis. I can't, picture's kind of washed. Can anyone tell who that is? I can't. Mike Austin. And there's the guys taking a little 5-minute fire break. I was waiting for trucks, I imagine. Wow. Laying a nice mat. Yeah. And here's a picture of, it looks like the basing. And those were the cans that we drove in, right? Rebar cages poured in place. I think, Mark, you were telling me this one here was a challenge because of the groundwater.
That one was a
54-inch case on.
At 10 foot. You're getting about 35, 40
Coming inside your case on.
inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was right on the ledge.
That was-
the water was just running across the top of the ledge.
Oh, wow. It must have been a challenge. And a little photo from the archives. Looks like that's the MMU athletic track. Mount Mansfield Union. Yeah? Larry Sullivan, you're on that one?
Yeah.
Nice.
See all that creating my
Right here?
right.
That's all done by hand?
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. Special material, right? That track material is like a, isn't it?
Had to have the grade. Yeah, usually it's like upstairs.
Yeah. Interesting. So,
Man came from South Carolina with a 12-foot level. His job was to make sure that everything was perfect.
before you put anything
He went
down.
all the way around twice.
Wow.
He threw it back into the truck. He stays that.
Yeah. Nice.
He usually had the shim and repair
Right.
ahead of his plastic roof.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've done it.
That's good. That's good. So, yeah, something to be proud of. That's all I have today. Let's work safe today. Let's work together. Let's have a good day.